Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. We're in a different location today, not in the storage unit with the International. We're in my garage at the house. Today we're going to be working on the engine a little bit. Gotta clean, yeah, working on the engine a little bit. Um, I've already had this in the machine shop where it got bored out, 30 thou, and I got the uh, uh, got it surfaced, got the cylinder head deck surfaced. Um, Said in a previous episode, this is a 65 Ford 289 out of a Galaxy. This is the C code, so this was the basic two barrel, 200 horse gross or net. I can never remember, but rated at 200 horse. So one thing we got to do, the lifter bores. When I disassembled this out of getting it out of the junkyard, had to blast the lifter bores out of it with a brass punch and a hammer. So they're not damaged, but they got a little bit of corrosion in them from this engine just sitting inoperative for decades, we assume. So to do that, I have a cheap, small brake cylinder hone that should do the trick. Small brake cylinder hone to just deglaze, just polish up the cylinder bore, the lifter bores. Not looking to take any material out of them, or just cleaning up the corrosion so the new lifters will slide in. And after that, After that, this engine's almost ready to go back together. Got a bit of schmoo right there. Yeah, after that, cleaning up the engine, wiping it down, and then this will be actually ready. We're ready to put the crank in it to check measure for bearing clearances, and this is almost ready to ready for reassembly. I'm getting close anyway. So get tools ready, and then we'll start cleaning this up. All right, like I said, we're just going to be polishing up the lifter bores. These aren't bad. It almost looks like the machine shop did a little work on them because these were really coked up. Coke is what's left over when an engine burns oil, kind of a brownish residue. So these were coked up a little bit and had some corrosion in them from this engine sitting in the junkyard. But so we're just going to use a small 3-stone hone, and for lube, just I'm using Walmart brand WD-40. Just need a ooh. So this was going to be a short video. And got because on these hones, if you adjust this thumb screw here, you can adjust the tension on the hone. We're set really light because, like I said, we're not pulling any material off. We're just if this hone will go small enough, which this hone won't go small enough. So I thought I got the one that was small enough for this, but obviously I didn't. So we are going to rethink this. So back when I got a plan. All right, so what I came up with is a piece of pipe with a groove cut in it and slipped some emery cloth around it. So this may work. Like I said, we're only polishing. We're not removing any material. So it's basically just a flap wheel now at this point. Let's make sure we're turning it the right direction. As a disclaimer, don't do what I do. I'm not a professional engine builder. Uh, I'm just a guy in a garage. Yeah, that did the trick. All right. Now get some clean those out with some mineral spirits. What I use for parts cleaner because it's cheap. It's still only about $18 a gallon. Throw it in a sprayer bottle, and you got a good degreaser that's actually not too harsh on the hands. And if you're sensitive to chemical odors, it's also not very it's very mild. It's got a very mild scent to it. So, which is, I know some people will be like, oh, you're just being weak, man up, whatever. But 18 years in the aviation maintenance industry, get exposed to a lot of garbage, and you either it either doesn't bother you, or you start getting sensitized to it, and you get things like chronic headaches. And yeah, running the emery cloth in there, yeah, just broke the surface of the corrosion. I can see the actual crosshatch of the original machining. Like, this block wasn't in too bad a shape. Like, it was caked up with just the worst motor oil possible. I think it was a non-detergent, judging by the year 65. So detergent oils were a thing, but the sludge that was just in this was impressive. Like, this thing had ran a hard life, and doesn't look like anyone did any oil changes on it. But the bore is cleaned up, surface cleaned up, and it's gonna be a good little engine, I think. I hope. All right, looks like we got the crud out of those. Yeah, I've been working on this engine kind of in the background. I haven't been filming anything on it just because there's a lot of engine build tutorials out there, and like I said, I'm no means a engine expert. I'm just a large aircraft, heavy aircraft mechanic turned engineer. So I know how to read a spec chart. I know, well, am I getting my FAA mechanics license, if you want to call it that. Learned how to do all this stuff, and then way back when in high school shop class. So I know the concepts. I know what needs to be done. Just I'm not a pro by any measure. But the Spitfire that you see in the background of the videos, I built the engine that's in that. That was literally more or less a junkyard engine build. The block came from a blown up midget. And then everything else was, yeah, the block was a blown up engine that I bought off of an MG midget guy. It's actually a Triumph engine, but the last few years of midget productions used the Spitfire engine, so that's allowed. All right. I'm going to go get a lifter just to see how smoothly they go into the bores, and I'll be back. I don't know how graphic we want to get on YouTube, but that's what I'm dealing with on my thumb. And that's after 3 weeks of healing, so that thumb's a little tender, a little sensitive. Now the cord got caught when I was grinding, and pulled the grinder out of my hand, and yep. But enough of that. For the lifters on this thing, we're just doing a seal power HT 900 for the 289. But yeah, just a stock replacement lifter. There's no reason to get fancy. Just a hydraulic flat tap it. There's so many horror stories out there of poor lifters, especially from some of the bigger, engine part names. But so I did some reading on it before buying them, and just the stock sealed powers. Definitely less reported failures. So, to lube this for assembly, I just have some 30 weight engine oil in a oil can. Good. Just dropping it down in the bores and feeling for a radial play or linear play, whatever direction you want to call it, side to side play. And more. The last two of those are a little dry going in, but it goes in. Yeah, good deal. This is dropping in freely and no discernible side to side play. I just got my hand on the bottom to catch it so we don't drop the lifter onto the ground. Yeah. Oh yeah, this makes me happy. All right, that actually, yeah, that was nice and smooth on all of them. So yeah, the little half-inch steel pipe with a piece of emery cloth did the trick. So put that back with its brethren. I think next find the crank bearings and on my plastic gauge and check for bearing clearances. Thought I almost had an emergency. Didn't have any plastic gauge, but yeah. But yeah, here's plastic gauge. Some might be familiar with it. It's basically a calibrated plastic filament that you lay between your crankshaft and the bearing, and then you torque your caps on, and then the width is how much bearing clearance you have. See, the green one is 1 thou to 3 thousandths bearing clearance. So when I'll bring it in close when we do it, but the crutch when this filament gets crushed, wherever it's closest to in width, that's your bearing clearance between the crank and the and your main bearings. And then the red is 2 to 6 thou inch. Pull these caps off. I'll give these a wipe down with parts cleaner to get the machine shop cutting oil off them from the machine shop. And one thing that Ford did, I don't know if you can see, but numbered 1 forward has an arrow, and it goes for all these caps. Yeah, I was hoping I didn't have to take this engine to the machine shop, but when I got disassembled, cleaned it up, the bores were the taper on the bores was great. The outer round was great. It's just it was just on the edge, or just past the wear point to that I could have gotten away with just honing it and putting new pistons in it. So it was. Then went 30 thousandths because the 289 and well the 302 as well because they share the same bore. Uh, Piston oversize goes up in 10 thousandths of an inch. So you got base cylinder diameter is 4 inches nominal, and then it goes up by 10 thousandths. Like we were just past the point of only having to do a 20 thousandths over bore, so it stepped right up to 30. But this engine shouldn't have to say this engine's going to live an easy life, but who am I kidding? It's gonna see some use. So this is gonna be on the highway, but it's gonna live a better life than it did originally. Really, the only thing I'm reusing is the crankshaft. The camshaft I was gonna reuse, but since putting all this other work into it, I wanted something with a little bit more. So yeah, that's a Summit Racing 3600. I think it's SUM 3600 is the cam that I'm going to be putting in this. It's just a mild cam, upgraded from stock, so it's not going to be, I don't want something that's, I don't want top fuel dragster. Yeah, all this was already clean. All the caps and everything was already clean, so I'm just going through and wipe down with mineral spirits. And all this is probably gonna give some people some unease, but I'm gonna be reusing the original cap hardware, main cap hardware, because this was before the days of torque to yield. So I'm already measured these. These are all, they're not stretched, so they're actually fully serviceable bolts. I don't have a trash can in here, so the floor is my trash can. And for bearings, just doing Moly Cleveite, MS590A for the 289. Not sure if this crosses over to the 302 or not, but this is going to be a fairly stock build. But, ooh, that was lucky the way that landed. Yeah, this is going to be a fairly stock build, but I'm trying to use the best trying to use the best parts that I can for the money. Just using a light dead blow to seat the bearings. Got my rubber gloves stuck in there. Center bearings and thrust bearings. All right, got the bearings in. Gonna gently set the crank in without any lube because we want dry clearance. Even without lube, that spins nice. I didn't film cleaning up this crankshaft because I'm sure some people it would have caused some people reason for alarm, how I did it. I just polished it up with emery cloth and a shoelace to polish around the journals. This crank is okay. It is like right on the edge of needing to go for a polish at a machine shop. There's some grooving in it from honestly it looked like it came from burrs that came off the oil holes, like off the edge of the oil holes, and got spun around the bearing. But after polishing and then checking with a micrometer, all of those were all that damage was um, 2/10,000ths deep approximately, and just below the surface there wasn't any raised, so 2/10,000ths, 0.00002 of an inch, which was just inside of the service bowl. So a smooth groove is just a place for more oil to go, I've heard. All right, let's check with the Haynes book to see what bearing clearance it says for a 302, and then double check with the internet, because that should be. Main bearing oil clearance, number one bearing is 1/10,000ths to 15/10,000ths. So we need the double check with the Google. Yep, and that agrees. 10/10,000ths to 16/10,000ths for number one. And then all other bearings are 5/10,000ths to 15/10,000ths. So, yeah, a lot of my reference, I'm using an old 80 to 96 150 Bronco book. So 1.00 1,000ths to 3,000ths. That's what we'll use. Scissors off. All right, cut us some. Don't know how well that's going to show up on camera, but that little green filament is the plastic gauge. Need a little bit better dexterity. So And the electric here ratchet, this thing has a maximum torque of like 35 foot-pounds, so, and that's running flat out. I was barely bumping it, so we're good there. Let's see what it has to say about torque. Torque specs, main bearing caps, 60 to 70 foot-pounds. Let's see what, compare that to a 289, 289 main bearing cap. Torque specs. 60 to 70 foot-pounds. So the bottom end of the 302 didn't change. Well, bottom end of the little small Windsors didn't change. So go 65. Actually, before we do this, let's even them out at 30. Ran them in with the ratchet, and it's supposed to be good for 35 foot-pounds, but yeah, we're still getting a turn on them at 30. Now that those are all even, crank her up to 65. Let's split the difference. All right. Here is 65 foot-pounds. I'm not going to use the impact to, this is the drill. We're done with the drill. Not using the impact. Going to throw the breaker bar, whatever you want to call it. All right, bring it in here closer. So, yeah, I can see in the shadow that stripe in the middle that's the plastic gauge squished down. And so what you do is you line it up it's hard to see try to shadow this, but we're wider than 2 thousandths, but we're slightly narrower than 15 10 thousandths. So we're in between crankshaft, oil bearing clearance. So no, this is nope. That was the B6. Here we go. Oil bearing clearance standard, 1 inch or 1 10 thousandths to 15 10 thousandths serviceable, limit 1/10,000ths to 20/10,000ths. So we are just in between the standard and the service limit. So we're actually good. Well, we're good on that number one anyway. I mean, this isn't exact. Like, yeah, we're wider than the 2000ths. 15. That's two. Calling 15/15 to 15/15. All of the bearings. Yeah, we're good. We're real even. And all right, for cam bearings, doing Molly Cleveite again, and part number for this SH510S. And these are specific to position, so each has a subpart number. Like the first number one position, closest to the front of the engine. Yep, I'm in shot. SH510 is bearing number one, and then SH514 is bearing number 5. And one thing critical is your oil holes. I don't know how that's showing up, but your oil holes, getting those lined up with the oil holes on the block. So what I'm going to do is make witness marks with a Sharpie on the outside of where the oil holes are. On these ones, you can actually see. You can see in the casting where the oil hole is. Verified. Is there 2 on this one? No, just 1. Tools. For tools, have this universal kit. Yeah, you use the collar that'll fit your bearing. Yeah, looks like it's this one, and that checks because that's the. Wish this one would work because this is. Ooh. Let me try that one because it fits it more snugly. Because the problem with the expanding is, as you expand, the backup ring gets farther apart, and you can run the risk of damaging your bearing in that seam. And it's I'm gonna have to go with yeah. All right, we're getting kind of sketchy with this first one. What I'm going to try to do to avoid damaging the new bearings is using an old bearing as a spacer. So this will be getting chewed up by the collet, and hopefully it'll just get driven on. It'll drive on the new bearing without damage. Ideally, take the block off, spin it around, but I don't really want to pick the block up. So we're going to try to go in blind. It's going, and it looks fairly even, except we popped off. Oh, we're not even at all. So I'm gonna now using the brass hammer. Let's try this again because we're not fully seated yet. Now this was a cheap Amazon purchase. Oh, that's what happened. That's why I didn't drive all the way on. That original bearing split, so did not want to do it this way. But anything will take a deburring tool. Does this come off? Ha! The strike face comes off. No. Went in too far. All right, ended up doing what I didn't want to do, and the engine is now on the welding table. But this will help us all around. I can use the tool as intended with the alignment cone. The shot's a little too low. There. Okay. A little bit more. Gotta get those oil holes lined up. A little bit more. That's probably too far. Well, good news. Without the... Yep, we're centered. All right. Oil hole. And we're good. There. Cam bearings. Cam bearings are in. Now I'm replacing the cam, but I got the original cam here. Let's just carefully insert it and see if it spins. No, it's in. And a little snug. I know for a fact our bearing alignment isn't perfect, so a little oil. Oh yeah. I don't know if that's showing. Yeah, that's showing up. It's smooth. Yeah, we are. I'm gonna call that a success. All right. Get this back on the engine stand. Yeah. Get this back on the engine stand, and then we'll put the crank in. Do I have assembly lube? I got some assembly lube. Could put the crankshaft in permanently. All right, gonna throw the crankshaft in permanently, so have to put the rear main seal on. This old design is a two-piece, but this isn't the old fiber rope seal that these originally came with. I'm running a Pro gasket kit, part number 260-1125T, and it has all the. I guess I'll just show you. Has rubber valve cover, oil pan, gaskets, along with Permatorque, the Permatorque valve or head gaskets as well. So they should seal up well. I'll clean out this little groove. Got some parts cleaner in it. But yeah, we're gonna put the. So, and for assembly lube, I'm just using some stay lube moly graphite that I've had for quite a while. It's what I have on hand, so it's what's being used. Dirty, but I don't have to get molly lube on my hands. This stuff's probably separated, so give it a little massage. Because I'm kind of out of order. Got a whole truck to work on. But this engine may not be started for a few years. Oh, one thing I forgot to check is thrust on the crankshaft, but we can do that after it's in and lubed up. Yeah, two-piece seal. What you do is you offset your I'm probably doing a horrible job of this. Offset your there. That way the seam isn't lined up with your bearing cap. All right. There's 70 foot-pounds. And she's smooth. Now let's set up our dial and thumb. Hitting that thumb. Probably don't have enough viewership to even ask the question, but favorite lead singer of Nightwish? Asking it because Last Ride of the Day is on. And that's Annette Olson as the lead singer. All right, we're set up here. Let's check the manual. CD. Crankshaft end play 4 to 8 thousandths, so 0.004 to 0.008. Now with it crankshaft torqued in, get a big screwdriver or pry bar, pry between the cap or the block and a counterweight to shove it one way, zero the dial indicator, and then shove it the other way and see how much it travels. And noise is bad drawer slide on my toolbox that's been bad for probably 15 years. Okay. We got like 2 thousandths. We are tight. But I'm gonna leave it because what's important is we have that thrust. Yeah, we had 2 thousandths thrust, and getting book calls for 4 to 8. Yeah. All right, so what did we get done today? We cleaned up the lifter bores and verified the verified fit with the new lifter. Those are all good. We got the cam bearings installed with a little bit of marring, but checked them with the checked it with the old camshaft, and it spun smoothly with no binding. We checked main bearing oil clearance, got 15 ten thousandths across all of them, so 0.0015, 15 ten thousandths of oil clearance, which is on the tight side, so we should have good oil pressure. And then drop the crank in with the new rear main seal and torqued it all down, and then checked the end play. We got about 2 thousandths, 0.002. Book calls for 4 to 8 thousandths, so we're on the tight side, but I think we can survive with that. Well, it's a good crank, dimensionally good crank with new bearings and a fairly low wear block for the amount of abuse it took in its life. So that's it for this video. I know this is a little bit different, not working on the truck itself, but we got made progress on the engine. Next step is pressing the new pistons onto the rods, so we can start fitting the rings to the block and get going on this engine build. And I don't have too many viewers, but appreciate everyone who's watching, everyone who's subscribing, all the likes. Not too many comments, but yeah, I haven't done anything comment worthy. I'm sure the engine build is gonna get some plenty of comments. But what color should I paint this? Now, the International engine was originally a green, kind of a alpine green color, like Detroit diesels or Ford old engine green. So, what color should I paint the engine? Originally, this engine was black with gold valve covers and air cleaner. Should I go a dark Ford blue like they did in '66 with the 289? Should I go Ford old engine green, which they used until the late 40s, I believe, early 50s? So I have my thoughts on that, but I don't know. See what you guys have to say. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for likes, and see you next time. Or we'll do some more engine work.